There's just something about the darkness that deepens the horror of seeing a fresh print of a child's hand on your window. During the day, it is disturbing. During the night, it makes your stomach turn, especially when you live alone, especially after having done an autopsy on a pregnant woman whose baby was never found, especially when the print is on the inside of the glass. I'd seen the print that morning, yet refused to acknowledge it until late at night. I figured I was just tired or disturbed by the previous events, and my mind was playing tricks on me. However, after getting out of the shower and seeing the fogged up mirror, I gently pressed my hand on it and stared at the print, then compared it to the one in my bedroom. It was a child's hand. Could it be related to the baby I couldn't find? I know it seemed ridiculous, and yet a lot of ridiculous things had happened in the past 24 hours. One thing was certain, I was not sleeping that night. I remembered the picture I'd taken of the symbols carved on her ribs and pulled my phone out, and there they were. The bone displayed a continuous line of writing, some letters repeating symbols so intricate they resembled hieroglyphs. The details were so tiny that it seemed impossible for anyone to carve them there. It looked like the bone had eroded itself to form them. I debated using Google reverse image search to match the symbols since I couldn't identify their language or purpose. However, a more rational approach made me realize that I can just upload a picture with the insides of a woman onto Google servers. So, I decided to trace them on a paper and reverse image search that picture. I sat at my kitchen table and tensed up as I copied as accurately as I could this strange writing. I had a sense it had something to do with some code or ritual, but I still wanted to know what I was dealing with. The first symbol resembled an open hand, missing its ring finger. I did my best to draw it, then moved to some sort of swirls around the triangle, and felt my hand go numb. My back was starting to hurt from crouching at the table. I was compelled to finish so that I could just move on and break the awful silence that had found its rest in my apartment. From my position, I could see the child's hand print on my window. That had placed an immovable knot in my stomach. The third symbol had a tongue, I think. I wasn't sure. My shoulders were tensed up and my neck felt unbelievably stiff. It was as if someone was pressing onto me. I decided to take a break and lifted my gaze to look at my reflection in the window. Suddenly, I saw a woman behind me with both of her hands placed on my shoulders and an unusually long neck twisted over my head to look at what I was writing. You like to think you know yourself well. You believe you'd react a certain way in a certain situation. But unless you actually go through with it, you can never truly know. There are three types of responses to this absolutely ghastly, disgusting appearance: fight, flight, or freeze. Apparently, I'm the type of person who freezes. I looked up and made eye contact with her. Her eyes were similar to one of those paintings that some people claim to trap one's soul inside. Her face was unbelievably human, and yet it was missing something. She didn't smile, cry, or yell. She just stared at me, then lifted a hand with absolutely no lines or skin folds, a completely smooth hand, and placed one of her completely smooth fingers on the paper, on the symbols. I think I think she wanted me to keep on writing, but by that point, my heart was pounding in my chest, and I felt incredibly lightheaded. The room began to tremble, then blur, and I think I passed out. I woke up, and I was alone. I think I could see in the hallway, right where the light from the kitchen met the shadows, something like uh, a standing coat or I don't know, My breath still stops when I think about it. It's hard to recall. I looked back down with the symbols and decided I would stop searching for this thing alone. My front door was at the end of the hallway, and something tells me that if I'd passed that thing, I would not be alive today. I did the only logical thing and jumped out of the window, then got into my car and called a friend. As I was waiting for him to pick up, the woman appeared on my window and tilted her head. I was shaking so hard I could barely hold my phone. Then, she disappeared into my house.
It was her, the woman I did the autopsy on, the pregnant woman. She was in my house.
Yeah. You're okay? It's too late.
My friend Tom mumbled on the other side of the line.
How can I talk to someone who knows anything about cults?
What?
I did an autopsy on a pregnant woman whose baby is missing, and now she's in my house, and she had these symbols on her, and I don't know what is going on.
What are you talking about?
Did you hear a thing I fucking said? I'm being fucking haunted, or hunted, or both.
I looked up and saw a woman standing in my doorway.
Are you on acid? 'Cause, like you promised me that if you ever tried it, we'd do it together.
I bolted to my car and started the engine. Then I looked up to see the woman standing closer to my car. Her hospital gown was drenched in blood, or mud, or both. She bared all her teeth to me in an exaggerated smile. My hand suddenly slipped from the steering wheel thanks to sweat. Work, work, walk, work. Oh my God, God gracious. I yelled all the prayers I knew out loud as I was pulling onto the main street and driving away. I didn't care that the front door to my house had remained practically open.
Hey, stop yelling. Are you praying? What's going on? Are you alone?
I'm driving to your house right now.
Oh, wait. Don't get in the car if you're on drugs.
I'm not on drugs. I'll explain everything to you. Wait for me.
I said, then hung up the phone and tried to steer the car and stay in my lane. I think I was crying. When I got there, he was already waiting for me at the door. I explained everything to him and he fell silent for a moment before yelling at me.
You're a horrible friend. You bring this shit into my house with the symbols and the fucking code. What were you thinking? Writing them down? What are you trying to summon her, or are you just stupid?
I'm sorry.
I said with a timid voice, holding back tears.
From what you're telling me, she's part of it, and she wasn't dead when you know, open her up.
Yeah, I figured that out already.
Do you still have the paper with you? You know, with the symbols and everything else?
I shook my head negatively. I may have left it on my table, I think. He seemed kind of disappointed with...
Oh, great. Well, how about we just, Google it?
I don't think we'll find anything online.
I paused and took a deep breath to calm my nerves.
Not on Google or any other search engine, at least.
He looked at me and gave me a blank look, staring deep into my eye.
No? Then, how about the dark web? Is that why you called me, right?
Yeah, I knew you used to shop there. And when you got pills and stuff.
Right. So you figured it'd be down to search some obscure fucking cult. Is that right? Oh.
I nodded and looked at him with puppy teary eyes. Don't sighed. I knew he was mad, but part of him was still curious and would not resist it. Soon enough, we were crouched over his laptop.
I don't think I know how to go into the dark web anymore. It's been a while.
I watched him turn on his VPN and whatever else. Since I'm not good with technology, nor can I remember the details. He went onto a folder in his computer and loaded a program, then a link or something like that. I was constantly looking over my shoulder. afraid the woman might have fouled this over there.
Right, so what do I search first?
Can you reverse image search the rib picture?
Honestly, I don't really want to. Might find some gory stuff I don't want to look at or remember.
Okay. Then search. Let's see here. Look for autopsies and stuff like that. You know, cults.
We unfortunately got jump scared by some obscure forums, and we were beginning to lose hope until Tom came across some user story.
Look, this one says, it describes symbols such as a flaming triangle, a hand with a missing finger, I think it's ring finger, a nail. He says the letters are strangely human and that his aunt used them when she was part of this society. He claims to be from Alaska, I guess.
Then we began listening to some of his recorded logs on this post.
For privacy reasons, call me Keith. Yeah, I mean the most batshit insane rituals I've seen. And believe me, I've seen a lot, are tied to the MOH Otherhood. That's their English name, but I think their traditional name is Mayakaria, or worshippers of the dead mother. They originated from some very avid idolizers of Virgin Mary and developed the ideology that the Antichrist or whatever was going to be born after the death of the mother. He had to be born in death. From death. It's like a whole process, spanning over years.
Then some other user asked, so, like, every woman part of the cult wants to birth the Antichrist?
Oh no, they do all kinds of satanistic rituals and whatnot. From time to time, more avid followers think that they can achieve eternal life by trying to birth the Antichrist, but it's rare and very manic. They get pregnant, then go on this weird diet and perform weird rituals alone. Their body goes through those transformations, and eventually they kill themselves and wait to be resuscitated by their sons.
Then the same user asked, okay, so does that even happen that often?
Rare as fuck, Hymo, never heard one case. But yeah, it can happen. It would be tragic though. I mean, even if their kid would turn out alive, its soul would probably be sold to Satan or something, and the mother would turn up some half-dead witch.
Ooh, that scared the shit out of me. I must confess, I'm really tempted to write down some of the symbols and check whether this thing you saying is true or some kind of bullshit. The same user said.
Don't write anything. Don't read anything out loud. Don't do any of that. They're clingy as fuck. My aunt could not get rid of them.
You know, all of his recordings were already making me quite nervous, and frankly, I was a bit anxious about what I was going to hear next. Then suddenly, the same person who asked the last question decided to send her own recording this time. Yes, her own recording.
Well, what if I already did? Huh? What's gonna happen?
Suddenly, her recording just cut off. Strange. Really strange. I got goosebumps just by hearing the I wonder if she's okay.
Just wait it out. It'll pass. They can't hurt you unless you continue to acknowledge them. If they're after you, just give them what they want.
Something grabbed my attention in the middle of all this. I heard once again the recording of the woman, and then I took a look at the date. It was from 9 months ago.
They can't hurt you unless you continue to acknowledge them. They can't hurt you unless you continue to acknowledge them. They can't hurt you unless you continue to acknowledge them.
I wonder how much would it count as a continued acknowledgement? Did I really have to live my life in danger from now on? Petrified to close my eyes? Had I done too much? Was it too much attention? The autopsy, the pictures, writing the symbols down, searching the web.
They can't hurt you unless you continue to acknowledge them.
I decided to spend the night at Thorns, because now I have this semi-dead ex-pregnant woman on my tracks, and something told me that she wasn't the only one. I mean, if she'd been so disturbing, I'm sure as hell not gonna meet her baby, because it feels like he's behind my every step.
They can't hurt you unless you continue to acknowledge them.
On the next day, we went to another forum on the dark web and found ways to cleanse the influence of the codes on our lives. We drenched everything in holy water, all the papers, all the evidence. We put on some Gregorian chants on our homes, and then both of us went to various churches in the span of 3 days. Now, I believe things seem to have gone back to normal. Well, at least in my case. Tom, on the other hand, he texted me last night to tell me that he keeps hearing a baby cry outside of his window.
They can't hurt you unless you continue to acknowledge them. They can't hurt you unless you continue to acknowledge them. They can't hurt you unless you continue to acknowledge them.